Hi guys, good morning. Thank you so much for being here today. My name is Devika and I figured instead of telling you what I do, I'll show you. Each day of my life is radically different from the other, and here are just some of my everydays. On some days, I study markets and I recreate them. This is a flower market in Dhaka that we actually replicated for a bride because she couldn't believe how beautiful a flower market is. It was complete with Dhakai flower rickshaws, with actual sellers who were making strings and garlands and selling to people. Some days I wake up at 5 a.m. and go in the search of the perfect flower. This is me at 5 a.m. on the Dal River, literally chasing and stalking that guy who says flower man, chasing his boats, so I could find myself the perfect daffodil. Other days, I actually get to grow the perfect flower down to the correct shade, length of stem, and size of the head. There are days when I spend hours filling cushions or just staring at a wall being painted. I tell personal stories through spaces, like that of Amir and Afsha, who met and fell in love in Srinagar, and they wanted a wedding that would commemorate their love for the city they fell in love with. So we created an entire wedding sourced from, inspired by, and celebrating Srinagar. That is the only tent in Srinagar. Those are the only 120 chairs in Srinagar. 30 guests had to stand because we didn't have chairs for them. And all of those flowers were sourced locally from different boats in Srinagar. I built temporary structures. This is literally a regular road where we built an entire Bharat walkway. This is a structure made entirely out of bamboo sitting in front of a sea. I reuse, I recycle, I repurpose. This ceiling is made entirely out of waste fabric that was left over from making table covers. I dabble in age-old crafts and give them modern perspectives. The first time I went to Dhaka was in April, and it's their Bengali New Year, and I realized they were making these guys for the parade. And normally when you see elephants, they're blobby creatures, but these guys had really sexy legs, and I was so taken by them. I knew I had to use them in some form or some part as part of my setup, and we actually created an entire forest inspired by them, just to give them a more modern, contemporary perspective. I need a bunch of creatives almost every day. I'm slacking today by being here. At a multidisciplinary, spatial, experiential design firm. And I do all this without a degree in either business or design. In very simple words, I design weddings. I make dreams come true for people like these. Or as my parents say, I'm somewhat of a crossover between a tent wala and pool wala. They're still trying to figure out what exactly I do. But how did it start here? How did I end up getting this ridiculously cool job? I was 10 years old when I attended my first wedding, and for my 11th birthday, when I asked my mom for a shadi-themed wedding, my path to weddings was set. That's me on my 11th birthday in my shadi-themed party, which was quite bizarre for that time. But I think I should have known then that my path to being in some form in weddings was set. The honest truth is, I'm entirely obsessed with weddings. I'm basically that auntie. The minute you tell her there's a wedding in your house, she'll turn up. She wants to know what people are wearing, what the planning is going to be, what the food is like, the obnoxious dancing, the pools of laughter. I actually live for all of that. It really, no matter how many times I've done it, no matter how many weddings I've been to, I truly get very excited every single time there's a wedding. The fact is, in the last 3 decades, I've been to over 100 weddings. And the one thing that I've learned by attending them, by organizing each one of them, is that at a wedding, God, it's truly in the details. And the details are not obvious things like have air conditioning in the summer, or make sure the venue is lit at night, or there's enough chairs for everybody, or there's pretty flowers. It's in the small, unseen things that truly elevates a wedding to an experience. Today I wanted to take you through a journey just to show you how we incorporate these beautiful details into an actual wedding. Is this not working? Sometime in 2022, we were tasked with designing a wedding inside a temple in Hyderabad. Our brief was very simple: create something that has never been seen before, and make sure you do it long distance in the middle of the first wave of COVID. With these two rather simple sort of tasks and briefs, we embarked to create what has been perhaps our most popular wedding till date. Right at the beginning, one of the things we understood was that we'll have to work with the venue to We didn't try building a Bali in Rajasthan. We wanted to work with the things that were around us, and we were inspired by the structure of the temple. We didn't want to take anything away from the temple, but we actually embraced it. The history of the venue, including its many flaws, and when I say flaws, there were literally things that were falling all over us. This temple is one of the oldest in India. It's about 1100 years old. It's a Ram Sita temple. It's perhaps the only temple where Hanumanji is placed outside and not next to them. The wedding was a week after Diwali, so one thing left to the other, and we obviously thought we'll do this entire wedding inspired by Dev Dipavali, and we lit the entire temple almost entirely by candles. The temple is also a public space and home to the priests who live in there. Our intention was to honor and build around it and not walk in with, 300 trucks and say, get out, we're going to change the way this place looks. I have a very simple belief that the human eye knows when something is fake. You know when someone's being nice to you, but they're not really being nice to you? You know when you can see an LED candle across the room and you know it's not a real candle no matter how many times it flickers or how warm it is. We were very clear from the very beginning that our details were going to be authentic. Which is why we ended up lighting the venue with almost 45,000 actual diyas and candles. And it sounds like a very cool thing to say on stage, but we actually died lighting so many candles in a span of 2 hours. We wanted to create a space that felt genuine, that felt warm. All the materials that we used were those that actually belonged to a temple. We used the Molly or the North Indian Kalawa to become the ceiling of the mandap. We use brass and terracotta as vases and various udlis and materials because these are again materials that are found in a temple. All the flowers that we use were temple flowers, that are flowers either that were grown in the temple compound or used as part of the worshipping that was done in the main temple. All the fabrics were actually aged. We didn't want fabric to look like anything was new. So we actually aged all our fabrics so it would feel like it always belonged in there. All the patterns that were used as part of the design were inspired by the motifs inside of the temple. And even the landscape of banana trees and palm leaves found their way into the dinner setting, the invitations, the murals. Our details are always thoughtful. For us, I have a very simple belief that you should leave a space better than you found it. We are very cognizant of the fact that the structure was a heritage site and there were people who actually lived in it, and there was a couple of families that lived there. And we worked with the priests to understand the significance of the temple and the various rituals associated with it that we could actually work from and draw from. The temple was actually broken apart. We brought in a specialized team to restore portions of the temple, which took almost a week. In fact, I know I have Vamshi here who worked with me on the wedding. He had the venue for 10 days and we actually had a civil team come and restore portions of the temple. And a lot of the work that we did in the temple remains over there till date. We collaborated with various NGOs that worked with the temple. All the diyas, all the candles were handmade. We worked only with local businesses around Hyderabad. There was nothing that was brought from different states, different parts of the country. And over 300 women were employed to highlight the female energy of Shri. If you guys have been on a production site on a venue, you know it's men, right? All the guys working backstage here are men. So we wanted to make sure that we actually brought the female energy and we actually employed women to be a part of and work at the venue. And we also did what seemed like a rather obvious thing to do. We amplified the venue by doing small things like lighting it and using it as a backdrop to the mandap. I've always believed that experience matters over everything else. And it is this knowledge that I take to the spaces and the details that we design. This is a very famous quote that I absolutely love. It says, "I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel." I still remember how I felt at that very first wedding that I ever attended. The euphoria was so tangible, I could bottle it. And it's this feeling that I want to take to every single wedding that I create. And that feeling for me is in the details. It's in the serenity of a stepwell that's covered and lit entirely by diyas. It's in the Ganga Aarti that welcomed guests and gave everybody goosebumps. And it's in the greatest compliment that I've ever got. Is one of the pundits over there walked up to me and said, "I was born here, 3 generations of my family have lived here, but I've never seen my home look so beautiful," and he thanked me for it. And the other greatest compliment of the people who I meet even today, who remember what it felt like to be there on that very cold November evening. I'm going to segue here and show you these faces. These are the people who made everything you've seen on screen today. They're the ones who are actually at the office working right now while I get to be on this fancy stage giving fancy talks. We spend every single day being incredibly proud of what we make. And if that's the one thing you all take away today, I think is create something that you're going to be extremely proud of. I know Rohan from my team is extremely proud of this beautiful mandap he made and the various forms of it for it to become something as magical as this. I know Shirag is extremely proud of this step well, by the way, that had no water. We put some 10 trucks of water in here and it still just became slush. And I know Shiraz is extremely proud of a step well that he transformed to become this magical space. And I am extremely proud of the team that I have built, who actually are the people who make all this magic that you see. These humans here, these humans are the people who bring God to our designs and bring our vision to life. And these are the details that I'm incredibly proud of. Thank you all so much for being here today. This is Pack Up.
Thank you, Devika. I think people are waiting for a bang of a finish, but pictures speak 1,000 words, and that's exactly what caught our attention totally. Thank you so much for inspiring us. A big round of applause for Devika Narain. And of course, we have questions coming from the audience. Any questions at all? Show of hands and we'll pass the mic. Okay, we have one already. Can you please pass the mic?
Can we get the lights
There's
on the
one here
audience?
also. Yeah. Yes. Keep your hands in the air so we can just pass the mic easily. Yes, the lady here, please.
I just want to understand more of how you got from small events to big. How did you build your confidence?
I think the easiest thing to do is to start small. And when you're sitting on the other side of it, and I'm now nearing 11, 12 years of doing this in entirety and about 7 years of my own company running, I think it's easy to forget that all of us started small. We all started with that one event in godforsaken who knows where, with a budget of 25,000 rupees, and you had to prove your merit and you learned from it and then you built something from it. And then we all got that first client who had this obscene amount of trust in you that kept you up all night for a couple of months because you found people who trusted you so much that you had to deliver on it. But I think I also started similarly with one wedding at a time, just biting as much as I could chew and I could swallow in peace, and then sort of building up on it, because I have a very simple belief that whatever you do it well. Don't overdo it just because the person sitting next to you is doing 100 weddings a year doesn't mean you have to do it if you can't do it well. I'm on the other extreme of that spectrum where I believe that it's important to do whatever is coming your way. And I know we all spend our time chasing the destination weddings, seeing how are we going to get the big things. But if your city is not happy with you, if your clients are not happy with you, then you're not getting anywhere, because they are the ones who are going to recommend you. We are, at the end of the day, no matter how cool we make ourselves sound, service providers. And no matter who our clients are, they have to be ridiculously happy with the service you give them. My coolest weddings have come as references from brides who didn't hire me for whatever reason, but they were so happy speaking to us, they were so happy with the service my company delivered to them, even though they didn't end up hiring us for whatever reason, that they said, I have a rich best friend, I'm going to recommend you too, right? And those cool, rich best friends ended up being all the cool brides that you see on our Instagram page, who gave us so much luxury to do the cool things. So I think there's no point chasing something bigger. Perfect where you are, literally start where you are. If you're doing a baby shower tomorrow, make sure it's the best damn baby shower your city has ever seen or that you can ever do. And I think if you do those things, you'll get to the bigger stuff. And even if you are just going to be the best designer in Bangalore or the best designer in Chennai, be the best at what you're doing in your city and your circle. And I think great things will come to you then.